What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about the newest film from director Luca Guadagnino, who I am a huge fan of. I have talked a ton on my YouTube channel about Suspiria 2018. It is one of my favorite horror movies. I find it to be superior to the original. I just think it's brilliant storytelling. The cinematography is incredible. The performances from the actors are great. And I feel the same way about Bones and All. I surprisingly have never seen Call Me By Your Name. There's a few films in Guadagnino's catalog I haven't watched yet, but the ones that I have seen are just remarkably made. I feel like he pays such attention to detail with every little piece of the film to create a really enthralling experience. And the other thing about Luca that I love is that throughout his filmography, he's made a wide array of films in very different genres. And he seems to just make whatever the hell he wants, which I respect immensely. And so to see that he was taking on this movie that seemed to be like a love triangle surrounding tennis was really interesting to me. And I'm a huge fan of Zendaya. I think she's an incredibly talented actress. So I was very excited to watch this movie. And the film I'm going to be talking about with you today is Challengers. Challengers is directed by Luca Guadagnino. Tennis player turned coach Tashi has taken her husband Art and transformed him into a world-famous Grand Slam champion. To jolt him out of his recent losing streak, she signs him up for a Challenger event, close to the lowest level of pro tournament, where he finds himself standing across the net from his former best friend. So, as I said, I was very excited to watch this movie. Even watching trailers, there was information given to you about the film, but just enough to pique your interest. And this movie is incredible. I absolutely loved it. This film right now is in contention for my top 3 films of the year. I love Luca Guadagnino, and I think what he accomplished here was incredibly impressive, and I'm very excited to talk to you about it today. So the plot description states it very simply. At the beginning of the film, we are introduced to Art, played by Mike Faist, and Tashi, played by Zendaya, and they are married and have a child together. And Art is a prolific tennis player. He's been playing for a while. He's won a ton of different tournaments, but he's never won the US Open before, and he's really struggling a lot. And you can tell he's getting frustrated with himself a little bit because he's not playing the best tennis he possibly can. And his wife Tashi is his coach. She was a former tennis player turned into manager after an injury that she sustained, and she finds this smaller level entry tournament to enroll him in to kind of boost his confidence up. And shortly after, we're introduced to Patrick, played by Josh O'Connor, who's living in his car, and he's going to play in this tournament. And we find out that him and Art knew each other when they were kids, and they both are really talented tennis players. And the entire film is us going from present day, which I believe is 2018 or 2019 in the film, to back when they were in high school going into college and kind of building up their tennis careers, and the relationship between these 3 characters and how the dynamics of that relationship have shifted over time. So as I said, I thought this film was absolutely incredible. For starters, I want to talk about the performances. Zendaya is phenomenal in this film. Her character is just so different than anything I've seen Zendaya play in the past. She is not the greatest human being. None of the characters in this movie are necessarily angels per se, but her character does pretty much whatever she has to do to get what she wants. And it's incredibly impressive what Zendaya does in this performance. She is so good at kind of manipulating her way into certain circumstances. And what I like about her character is you don't necessarily agree with every decision that she makes, but you can understand where she's coming from, especially her background and what she did to get into the tennis world and how hard she worked and how it was kind of taken away from her through this injury. And I just think what her character goes through, Zendaya does such an amazing job through her facial expressions and through her interactions with other characters at really conveying her psychology in a way that resonates throughout the entire film. Josh O'Connor and Mike Faist are both fantastic as well. What I really like about both their characters is they are drastically different people trying to accomplish the same thing, but their lives aren't at all similar. Patrick is very interested in just getting to the pros immediately. He doesn't want to go to college. He doesn't want to do any of those type of things. And he kind of just lives his life however he wants to. He's kind of permanently stuck in childhood. And so a lot of his decisions are incredibly sporadic and of the moment. And he goes through a lot because of that. Art's character is much more planned out. He wants to go to college. He wants to approach tennis in a very different way. And he's much more mild manner and kind of goes through the motions comparatively to Patrick's character. And I think what's interesting about the movie is how the two of them are such close friends early on, and how being two completely opposite people that they're able to stay so close, and then the ebbs and flows of their relationship throughout the movie. And I just think the way Luca writes this dynamic is really fantastic. I love the cinematography in this movie, not just the cinematography, but the editing choices. There are some visually striking sequences where the camera goes in places that you just do not expect. Some of the editing transitions are really fantastic. I really like how there are moments. I saw some people complaining before the movie came out, but when you watch the film in context to the subject matter of the movie, there's a lot of quick editing cuts through conversations, and it feels like a tennis match, back and forth, back and forth. And you can tell when Luca was working with the editors for this film, he wanted the pace and moments to be incredibly chaotic, but there's also moments where it pulls back and it's much more subtle. But I do think this movie keeps you on an emotional roller coaster ride because of the cinematography and the editing decisions. The score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross is fantastic. It was very reminiscent of something out of the 1980s. I really loved it a lot. Very heavy synthesizer driven. And I saw this in an IMAX screen, and there were times that the score was just like blowing you out of your seat. And it was utilized in really great moments that I feel like just kind of accentuated the emotion you were seeing conveyed through either the actor or the intensity of the scene playing in front of you. And what's really interesting about this movie is the relationship dynamics between like people being in a relationship, a friendship, this relationship turning into enemies essentially, and kind of just back and forth throughout the entire film. And Zendaya's character is really just trying to live vicariously through these people because she can no longer be a tennis player because of her injury. And when things don't go the way she wants, she does anything that she can to make the situation play out in the way that she would want it to. And it's really interesting to see how manipulative her character can get. And I just loved how multifaceted her performance was. It was just remarkable to see how much her character went through. And this jumps different time periods. And you'd think that that would get really chaotic after a while, but the way Luca is telling this story, it's really easy to stay invested and hooked on these characters' decisions and just wanting to see what happens at the very end. And there's a through line where the movie starts that it keeps cutting back to, and I thought it was really smart to take that direction. There's some title cards in this that I think work really well to the overall film. And it's a movie about power dynamics and relationships. There's some really intense sequences in this movie that are sexually driven that I feel like really attribute to the fast-paced nature of the film. There's a lot of chaotic tennis playing sequences that just keep you on the edge of your seat, and I was just completely hooked to the screen throughout this entire movie. And I think Luca Guadagnino is just proving that he is one of the best directors working today. Every film that he puts out, there's so much attention to detail, there's so many great performances in his films, and I just can't wait to watch this movie again already. So have you seen Challengers? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was fantastic. I loved every second of it, and I'm so excited I got to check it out. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.